So I'm going to start off with my formula. My formula says that I've got the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. All right, now from here, I've got to determine what f of x plus h is and what f of x is. Well, I know what f of x is. F of x is x squared all right. Now, what is f of x plus h? Well, if I wanted to know what f of 3 is, I would just say, okay, it's 3 squared. If I wanted to know what f of negative 10 is, I would say negative 10 squared. So when I want to know what f of x plus h is, I just say it's x plus h quantity squared. And again, it's all over h. Is there a question here? All right. Now, let's square this out. Again, we're squaring a binomial. So it becomes x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus x squared all over h. Now, at any time up until now, if I plug 0 in for h, because remember, that's what we do in limits, right? We plug in the number. If I plug 0 in for h anywhere up in here, think about what you would get right here on this step. You would have x squared, 2x times 0 would be 0, and this would be 0. So it's just x squared minus x squared, which would be 0. And then you'd have a 0 in the denominator, so you'd have a 0 over 0 here. And we talked about that earlier. If you've got a 0 over 0, then there's a good chance that it'll reduce and give us something that we can work with. So let's see what happens here. Let's go ahead and say the x squared. So I've got that f prime of x equals to the limit as h approaches 0 of, this becomes 2xh plus h squared over h. All right, do we notice anything that happens right here? And whatever happens here is going to happen in all the problems that we're going to look at. What do you see happen here? Every term has an h in common. So what I can do here is I can factor out an h from everything in my numerator. So I get that f prime of x equals to the limit as h approaches 0 of h times 2x plus h over h. Are we okay here? Now, what do you think happens on this next step? Yeah, the h's will cancel out. So f prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of 2x plus h. All right, now if we plug in 0, we'll get something defined because we don't have an h in the denominator to deal with anymore. So we get 2x is our answer. So the derivative of x for x squared is 2x. So now we can figure out the slope. Well, it says that the slope anywhere on this curve is 2x. What's my x value on this point? 2. So f prime of x at the point 2, 4 is equal to 2 times 2, which is 4. So the slope of this curve at this point would be 4.